The admissions status flow is what many in the world of admissions call the enrollment funnel. And you'll see as the students come into the system how they kind of funnel through and go from the very beginning all the way through the end of the process. When you begin in the admissions world, you start in at the very top is what is the inquired pool. And so students come in with an interest in the institution. They can show that interest through either a card at a college fair or a campus visit. It may be through one of the search pieces that we'll talk about in one of the other lessons. But being able to come into the institution, this is where everyone starts, where they come in as inquired and they've asked questions and want to be a part of that applicant pool. From there you move into the pre-app applied, and it's very simply the pre-app is if a student has submitted information and not yet completed the application. That applied means they've completed the application and has submitted some information, but it's not quite complete yet. And so both of these, we have some of the stuff that we need to review an application, but not quite everything. And so being able to go through and review an application, once we have everything, they become app complete. And you can see many arrows here where they can come with their status, and after a file is reviewed, all the bits and pieces are in, the counselors could then make a decision, and all these arrows then lead to the 5 decisions that are possible for the institution. Starting from left to right, you'll see the wait list, meaning that a student would like to be a part of the institution, don't know if they can. They're kind of a fallback for the institution, and that if the class is not quite full enough, then they can bring them in. They haven't been denied. Students hopefully have not all flooded elsewhere, but they'll be able to have a second chance, basically. And that is only for regular decision students. We have something called early decision, which students could never be denied through in the first read, but they will be deferred, which is the ED defer there as the second decision code. And so being able to go through and having those students that have applied early, don't know if they're going to be a part of the class or not, we can either accept them or defer them. We never deny anyone through early decision. So we're able to take those students as deferred, review them a second time. At that point, we'll make a decision on either accepted or denied. Obviously, they're accepted. Those students have been accepted to the institution. They'll receive a letter of acceptance. They'll receive a financial aid package. They'll be able to be a part of the institution they so wish to do so. The tricky thing is, you'll see in the next slide, is they have to accept us back. But moving along here, you see the denied students. Obviously, they've been denied admission from the institution. They're not eligible to be a part of the school. Many of these decisions are not able to be re-looked at, and so those students, I'm afraid, are out of luck. And then you have all the way on the right hand side there, withdrew, being that enrollment status that the student has voluntarily taken their application back. They no longer want to be a part of the institution or be a student there. A lot of times that is with students who are accepted early action or early decision elsewhere, and they have promised to take those applications out of the pool for those students. And here you have, coming down to the very bottom of the funnel, those admission statuses where I mentioned once they're accepted, they can accept us back. So students that will attend, they will pay a deposit, and once that deposit is paid, they're enrolled in classes, they've fully matriculated, they become enrolled students. They will remain enrolled students even after they graduate. Their enrollment status remains the same. Students that have been accepted but don't actually come to the institution will be one of these 3 on the right hand side, either canceled, canceled accept, or canceled paid. So all basically saying that they were accepted but didn't come. Thanks but no thanks. And so those students, it all depends on the response and the circumstance in which they were canceled. And so the student who sends back saying, no, I'm going to go somewhere else, they get this simple canceled enrollment status. The cancel accept means they were accepted, never heard a response, and so we know exactly what it means and why they're not as coming to the institution. And cancel paid for those students that were perhaps accepted through early decision. They may have decided to go elsewhere, so they've already paid a deposit but then said thanks but no thanks, I want to go somewhere else, cancel my application, I'm not coming. So you have very simply running through, you can see kind of how the funnel works, where you have most of your students, the vast majority of the student students that come to the institution are in this inquired pool, and so it's shaped a little bit like a funnel. You have maybe 20,000 students that are inquired, which is a very, very large candidate pool. You have a fewer number that actually send you information, start the application. Again, a bit smaller that actually complete an application, typically somewhere around 2,000 students. If we're lucky, we can get 2,000 applications, probably more like 1,500. And you work into even smaller groups, and so you have a smaller group for you waitlisted, you deferred, and you're accepted. Denied is usually around a couple hundred, and then withdrew. It all depends on if they take it that way or not. And of course, for a pay deposit, our enrolled students, just for a first class, we're looking for somewhere around 500. And so you go from the very top of the inquired pool of say 20,000 and work your way down to smaller numbers to the accepted of 1,200, and then your pay deposits of around 500. So you can see how it works in that funnel format to get to exactly what you need for that incoming class.